Well, hello, guys. Good evening. It's Danny Deals here. Thank you for tuning in to Un Poco Mas, the show where we give you just a little bit more. It's August 28th, 2023. It's 8:11 p.m. out here in beautiful dark Los Angeles. I am burning the midnight oil for you folks. Got up and started analyzing the markets, just crunching the numbers about 4 a.m. this morning. And here I am oh, so many hours later, still hard at work for you folks, you turds, my audience. Guys, today I would like to talk with you about Tenax Therapeutics Inc., ticker symbol TENX. Guys, this is a tiny, tiny cap company, $8 million market cap. They have two phase 3 ready drugs in the cardiac space. One is Aminatib and the other is Levosimendan. They basically ran out of money, went to Roth Capital for a strategic review. Roth immediately, did nothing for 6 months, took a huge dump in their pants. And when they were done doing that, they cobbled together a $16 million offering, basically gave away the entire company. One of the shittiest deals known to man if you're a shareholder. But guys, when you're left with those decisions as a shareholder, you find your shares massively diluted. Usually what happens is the stock crashes even further than the offering price. And that was the case here. Oh boy. I mean, this stock, if you factor in all the cashless exercise of the warrants, my math suggested that shares could have been had as cheaply as about 73, 74 cents each, something like that. And the stock actually came down below the 30-cent level to 25 cents at one point. So, there are some short long hedge funds, some of which are being sued by the authorities that are involved in all kinds of shenanigans regularly. Clearly, the stock has been driven down. I mean, Zacks did an analysis middle of last year where they said each one of these drugs had a current value last year of like 250 to 350 million dollars. Um, put their appropriate target on the stock, and then that would have been a market cap, half a billion dollars, something like that. And here we are, under $10 million. And the funny thing is, if you just read the quarterly, they're only going through just over $1 million per quarter. They've cut expenses to the bone, and they actually have like $13 million in cash and almost no debt. So we have a market cap like barely over half the cash with two phase 3 ready drugs. I mean, the drug that they've prioritized, Levosimendan, is for HPEF. HFPE. I always try to spell it out, and people are like, hey, moron, it's HPEF or whatever it is. But it's a specific type of heart failure that this drug seems to improve, basic day to day functionality, quality of life, being able to actually walk, stand up, exercise, daily tasks. So going to the store, dressing oneself, showering, this drug would help with all of those. And so, this is the drug they've decided to prioritize with their limited funds. They've already announced a P3 trial is going to go ahead and get started. Um, if you look August 23rd, you see newsrx.com, phase 3 double-blind randomized placebo-controlled study of losartan for pulmonary hypertension patients with HPEF, heart disorders and diseases. And it basically goes through, it's saying, it's going to start later on this year, patient selection really get going next year. Primary completion date will be early 2027. People are saying, why should it take that long? Why should it take 3.5 years? Guys, this is normal in clinical trials. They take a long time from start to finish, from phase 1 to phase 3. It can often take 10 or more years. It's just the way it is. I believe there is some hope of this trial going faster. They brought on MedPace as their collaborator, who's basically going to run the trial. They're basically outsourcing the running of the trial, and they're an extremely experienced big company that does this all the time. So they don't need to ramp up. They're already going to have the relationships to just reach out and get this trial started. You have a very captive sort of patient base that has a lot of incentive to go ahead and join your trial because there's no cure for this and there's no treatments available at all. And Tenax was just granted a patent on the oral formulation. They'd already been granted an IV, and the patent office separated the specific type of heart failure with preserved left ventricle ejection fraction, or PHHFPEF, just because I love spelling that out and looking like an idiot. But guys, they have patent protection. It's done. It's locked up through at least 2040. And if you know about this drug, Orion was selling this drug in part of Europe. They were selling like 100 to 200 million euros per year. So, guys, I encourage you, just check out the structure of the study. It's a double-blind study, 152-week patients. The duration is only 12 weeks, and the endpoint is the 6-minute walk test. So they basically measure the distance on day one, and they measure the distance at week 12. I don't know if they measure somewhere along the way. They probably do. But they're giving these doses of levosimendan versus placebo, and the subject will return clinical site weeks 4, 8, and 12. And then they'll have the option to enter a 92-week follow-on study at the conclusion of week 12. But guys, we should have some readout back on this. I don't think it's going to take forever. I think we should have readout back on this next year. I mean, if they're recruiting patients late this year and the duration of the study is a fixed 12 weeks, there's not that much that's going to go wrong with this. It's either going to work or it's not. And the FDA has, amended, let the phase 3 endpoint be the 6-minute walk test. It wasn't that before, and then they've also amended it to go from the IV formulation to the oral formulation. So, all indications are that the FDA wants to approve this drug. There are no drugs available for this condition. And after all, what is the FDA's job? Yes, number one, keep people safe, but it's to address, needs of patients. It's to address these unmet needs. And this drug has been, shown to be effective with this endpoint. So there's a lot of reason to believe that this drug could very well pass this phase 3 trial, at which point it would probably sell hundreds of millions of dollars worth every single year, just right out of the box, and could grow. People think it can grow, 400, 500 million per year quite easily. And the market cap of this company, again, is $8 million with, 13 million cash and almost no debt. And Dr. Stuart Rich, who is, the medical director at Tenax, he was the owner of a company that Tenax had bought out. Iminitib was actually his drug, I believe his baby, but, he's on board with levosimendan, but he was part of the FDA advisory committee, I believe, for 8 years that actually approves these type of drugs. So if anybody knows how to structure this, guide it through, pull the strings, grease the wheels, I think it would be Dr. Stuart Rich. And he is somewhat of a legend in this field, very well known in FDA circles. So I feel pretty good about the chances for approval. And if you look, I don't know if this is even possible with this drug, but FDA has accelerated approval. Where they can go through and they can take another endpoint. I know they've already changed the endpoint for this, but I'm not, an expert on accelerated approval and these other FDA programs. I have read the definitions, but I don't know exactly when they would apply and try and speed through a trial. But my woman's intuition says that, which I have none. That's kind of the joke. But you know, if they go through these 12 weeks and they see that patients are getting a massive, or at least, a very significant benefit in the walking test, which you could, basically assume would give them a huge boost to their quality of life every single day, you have to believe that the FDA is going to work with Tenax and MedPace to get this trial approved as soon as possible. Because again, as I said, there is no other. They're not trying to be better than the last drug or cure or treatment for this particular indication. There is no treatment, so they're coming, covering virgin ground, and I think all indications are the FDA wants to approve this bad boy. There's not a lot of other news. I saw an investor place. They're like 7 F-rated tech stock or biotechs that you shouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole. So I just thought I'd, for balance or whatever. Because God knows there's a bear case on this stock, guys. This thing could go to zero. This thing could go bankrupt. They can do another horrible offering. They can, get Roth in there to crap the bed another time, just, to make sure it's good and crapped in. But 10X is a pharmaceutical company studying and develops cardiopulmonary diseases, hypertension, planning gut phase 3 for Lavas-Menden. We already know all this stuff. Patent protection through end of 2040. However, it would be a long wait for investors. Earnings for the second quarter showed net loss 1.1 million. Again, I think that's really good news, guys. Only burning just over $1 million in the entire quarter. 13.3 million cash on hand. So at the current runway, they could go on for years and years. Of course, once the P3 trial actually starts, they're going to burn through that money very, very quickly. It's possible that 10X could be a solid long-term play, but with no revenue in the foreseeable future and the stock price down 81%, it's clear why 10X has an F in the portfolio. Well, that's why I love the stock, guys. The revenues are way off, but to me, they are in the foreseeable future. 3-4 years down the road is not a long time when you're talking about, biotech plays, you're talking about FDA approvals. Guys, I'm in stocks that are in like P2. I've been in stocks that are in P1 and held for like a decade and, lost all my money and, I don't know why. I digress. I don't know why I'm mentioning these horrible decisions, of which 10X shan't be another. But, guys, this thing is just absolutely oversold. It's some kind of hedge fund scam. They're basically trying to drive everyone out of the stock. You look at the volume. That's the key to this pump and dump here, guys, is the volume. Back here, you traded 7 million shares from this initial pump on 8/17 all the way up right here from, 31 up to all the way up to like 41 that day. Comes back down, wants to consolidate at 35 cents and then pumps back up. But you guys, I've checked the volume and it's like 7 million, 2 million, 1.7 million, 800,000, 800,000. And then when you get into the dump, these last couple days, guys, it's been, 400,000 shares. And then yesterday, I think was 280,000 shares. So it's not really like, it's a false narrative, guys, because on the increase here, you're trading, you start the pump, guys. Okay, you're at 150,000 shares being traded a day, 200,000, 150,000. All of a sudden, 8/16, you start the pump, right? You go from, 29 to 34 and you close at 32 and a half on 1.5 million volume. Next day, 7.2 million goes up to 41 cents. Next day, 1.75. Next day, 2. Next day, 1. Next day, 870. Next day, 890. And then 281,000 and then 417,000. So when the sell-off is on anemic, ridiculous, insignificant volume, it's basically bid rigging. It's price fixing. The people that accumulated on heavy volume did not sell They're still holding and this is bullshit, guys. This is exactly what happened the other day post-market. The stock went from like 37 to 33. It went like 10% down. Everybody's like, oh, see, I told you. The stock's crashing. I'm looking at the NASDAQ. It's like 18,000 shares. It's $6,000 worth of shares, you pansies. You see your own shadow, you go running back in your own hole with Puxatawny Phil. You turd. But it's just, trading 600,000 on the whole crash and then 10 million on the way up. Even with all the churn and ridiculous games, that does not mean that we're back where we started, back to 32. Everybody's like, we're back in the range. Yeah, but the people who bought on the way up didn't sell. It's just the same hedge funds fixing the price, guys. This is a scam ticker. Hedge funds are using it, but it's a good company with good drugs. This company, Armpit Capital, they're being sued by the authorities now. They're being sued for other scams they've run. Hang with them, guys. They have to pump the stock. It is imperative for them that they pump the stock. And guys, you can see 10X second quarter results. This is by John Vandermosten, certified financial analyst, August 28, 2023. And I think this is over in Zacks. They're talking about the slow pace, but the dramatic potential. And I just, encourage you to read this. They're talking about the confidence issued by the patents, the operating expenses being under control, how far the general and administrative expenses, R&D expenses fell 87% to under 200,000 from 1.5 million because they're not developing anything, guys. The formulations are done and dusted. Net interest income was 131,000, which is great due to higher cash balances, so they're making a few bucks, like 1%, but net loss was 1.1 million versus 3 million a year ago, and they only lost 5 cents a share because the share count's been, reverse split to death or whatever. At the end of Kia, cash 13.4 compared to 2.1, so they were almost bankrupt, almost at the complete end last year. And Roth gave them again this huge bag of diarrhea, where they gave away the whole company for 15 million bucks. And then Roth gave him like a buy rating. It's so stupid. Financing cash flows. Anyway, guys, additional support for oral levosimendan. Here they talk about the patent protections through 2040, that this inspires confidence, that there's no, alternatives, no treatments. They go through people said, okay, this is a second phase 3. This is not actually mandatory. And if you look at the FDA's notes to Tenax and when they exited the phase 2, it could be 1 or 2 trials. This structure is not certain. At least that's the way I read the notes. If you disagree, please let me know down in the comments. And they talk about an aminitive, that this program, while deactivated right now for financial considerations, has a ton of potential in its own right. Remember, this is Dr. Rich's drug. This should be in phase 3 too. It's ridiculous that this stuff is held back by a little bit of money, but it's tough to get financing right now. Interest rates are sky high, and they talk about all the competitors that are shooting for these spaces along with Tenax, and how they better get their asses in gear, because all these other companies aren't just going to sit around and wait while Roth sits around with their thumb up their ass doing a strategic review for a year and then gives us the worst deal known to man. Roth Capital, oh, you suck. You suck hard. I wish I could find my you fucking rock or go fuck yourself cards, because I know which ones you would be getting. Roth Capital, you do not fucking rock. You can go fuck yourself. In any case, guys, it's Tenax Therapeutics. It's ticker symbol TENX. I love the stock. I own a huge amount of shares, but if I was you, I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole, because you are not stupid like me. And you don't want to lose all your money on a horrible penny stock. Oh no, it's going to go to zero. I'm going to load the boat at 2 cents. Whatever, dude. I already loaded the boat at 30 cents. So if you don't like it, right here, buddy. Guys, it's Tenax Therapeutics. Hope you guys have a great night. Sorry this video was a huge steaming pile of crap, but I've been up for about 19 hours now, and there's no end in sight. You guys have a great night. I'm going to carry on, and I will talk to you guys, just as soon as possible. Thank you. Have a great night. It's Tenax Therapeutics, ticker symbol TENX. Danny Deals and Poco Moss. Bye-bye.